Tonight we have something really good, a hot topic in the news. This week's been charged with crime. This is a show where I try to educate real stories. Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. Tonight we have a full panel of 5 lawyers plus me, and we're going to talk about current events. Remember, I said we were going to change our format and start talking about current events once a month to help educate our community about what's going on, allow you to ask questions, and we'll answer your questions. Tonight I have with me Billy Skinner, I have Justin Harris, Victoria Fesaglo, I can never say this name, forgive me, Damon Parrish, and Equator Turner. And we're going to just talk about 3 interesting topics that have come up in the last few weeks. One, we're going to talk about our own City of Houston Police Chief McClellan, who hit a pedestrian and was sanctioned to be off for 1 day by the mayor. And remember that the police chief reports to the mayor. And we're going to talk about Devon Anderson being appointed to be the new DA, acting DA, to take her husband's place now that Mike Anderson, our Harris County DA, has passed on. And then we're going to talk about the Jonathan Ferrell case in North Carolina. He was the young college student that had a 1-car accident, was injured, knocked on a door asking for help, and the homeowner thought he was a burglar, called the police, and when they came out, even though he was unarmed with his arms up, they shot him 10 to 12 times and basically murdered him. But the different twist for North Carolina is that they actually charged the police officer, which is totally unusual here. They investigated it and charged the officer. We're going to talk about those 3 topics and call and weigh in. Give us about 15 minutes and then you can call in. We're going to take your questions about the topics that we're discussing. First, we're going to talk about Devon Anderson being appointed to the Harris County DA's office as our acting DA. So we're going to have with us my friend and colleague, Billy Skinner, to explain that process to us. So Billy, explain what happened.
Thank you, Ms. King. In a very interesting turn of events, Mike Anderson, who had been the elected district attorney for Harris County, passed away, unfortunately, and in the process, the weeks afterwards, there were a lot of rumors at the courthouse, a lot of talk on the streets, and a lot of scuttlebutt, and in fact, even some news articles about who would replace Mike Anderson. He'd only been in office a short period of time. During that period of time, unfortunately, he had been sick most of it, and so the person that we all believed and no, I guess, Judge Belinda Hill, the first assistant, had basically been the person running the office for a substantial period of time. Judge Hill, obviously very qualified and things of that nature, and I found it very intriguing, to say the least, that Devon Anderson was appointed. When I read through the list of people, and just a list that I found at one of the local websites, Judge Mark Carter, Congressman and former Judge Ted Poe. I never had any idea why Judge Poe would want to come back from Washington to be the DA. A prosecutor, Rachel Palmer, Jim Leitner, a former first assistant, Judge Belinda Hill, and then Devon Anderson. I think the thing that's the most interesting about this is not whether or not Devon Anderson is qualified to be the district attorney. I think by and large she is. She had been a prosecutor, she had been a judge. After she lost the election, she worked as a criminal defense lawyer. I think most of us here know her on some level. That part wasn't particularly of interest to me. Obviously she's qualified. The part that was interesting to me, and I would like to get input from you all here, is the fact that from someone who's an outsider, someone who's not involved in politics, it looks an awful lot like the old concept of passing the torch. And I think for voters, that should be concerning. And particularly if you're a voter and you're not a Republican, that should be something that you're keenly interested in. The fact that the governor appointed someone within the party is not surprising. Who knows what happened behind closed doors, whether Judge Hill wanted the position or did not want the position. But the fact that the elected official's wife became the new district attorney is intriguing. And for me, like I said, the piece that came up the most is that it's the passing of the torch concept that had ruled Harris County in the district attorney's office for decades. And that cycle was somewhat broken by Pat Lykos.
Definitely.
Mike Anderson, reelected, beat out Judge Lykos in the primary. The Democratic Party had their debacle during the election. I think it's the nicest word I can think to say. And then for it to look like the torch is being passed again, I think is intriguing. And I think it has a lot of people in the legal community intrigued. And like I said, it's not that she's not qualified. I believe she's qualified. In fact, I believe she can do a good job.
Right.
But it's intriguing to see the concept of the torch being passed back at the Harris County DA's office.
Let me comment too. One of the things I found interesting when I was sitting at Mike Anderson's funeral, and it was so well attended, it was such a beautiful homegoing, I thought, you know, it'd be interesting if Devon Anderson gets the job, because a lot of times with congressional people and state representatives, if they die, the widows always get those unexpired terms. No one had ever talked about it in the courthouse, in the criminal courthouse. Everybody was talking about, I can't wait until Belinda Hill is appointed. I can't wait until Belinda Hill is appointed. I have 2 capital murders pending, and the DA, the elected DA, has to make the final decision with his committee on whether he's going to seek death or not. And I've been waiting all year for that decision, and Mike Anderson wasn't available to make that decision. So we've been on hold. In fact, I have to go to court on one of those cases in the morning because it was thought that Belinda Hill would have been appointed by tomorrow to make that decision. And now, I don't know if Devon, I mean, since Belinda has been there the whole time, she might have even seen the file already. You see what I'm saying? Because they've been waiting for him to be a part of the group, and I gave them a packet about in May as an offer, like a big old packet of mitigation, because he has a lot of mental health issues, and I don't want them to seek death, so I gave him a mitigation package and a plea bargain offer also for like 40 years. And so no one's been able to give me an answer on that. And so everybody, include that case is in the 338th, which is Judge Brock Thomas, and the prosecutor is John Jordan. And they've been thinking that we were going to make this decision tomorrow. So it might be reset one more time. And this case has been going on for about 3 years. But so anyway, I just thought that was just interesting. But I did think that when I was sitting there, I was like, you know, she is qualified. You know, like you said, Billy, she's very qualified. But I thought maybe she might want to be at home with those beautiful children who've lost their father, and, you know, their lives have been turned upside down. And so, but I do know she's still a young woman who wants a career, because I don't think she's even 50. So,
and I admire her for taking the position. I just found it interesting of the torch passing concept. I also find it interesting that you say that it's in the 338th District Court, where you have a capital murder pending in front of a judge who not so long ago was the law partner of
That's
the now
true.
district attorney.
I hadn't thought about that. That's going to be very interesting. One of the things the citizens and the viewers need to think about is keep up with who the people are, because when you have a former prosecutor that was a longtime prosecutor come back to be the DA's office, then the same old thing's going to always exist. The nepotism is going to exist. Everybody's married to each other. Everybody looks out for their friends' cases. We need to make sure that there's fairness across the board. And I think one of the things people were looking forward to if Belinda Hill was appointed is that she would administer justice equally across the board. I think that's what, I mean, I thought she would be a little unforgiving, you know, and I like her, I love her. I thought she'd be a little unforgiving, but I thought she'd be unforgiving to everybody. You know what I'm saying?
Equally unforgiving.
Equally unforgiving, which you can admire. You can handle that. You got your fight on your hands, but you don't want to go back to the old system where it's nepotism and certain people get deals, certain people's cases get no billed because they were friends with the DA or friends with the judge or friends with this or married to the DA. You don't really want that to go on. And not that I believe Devon would do that intentionally, but I just think that there was, while she was in the DA's office, which I was in the DA's office for part of that time also, there was a lot of nepotism and a lot of favorites being played. And they're still played now, actually. But that was one of the things that if Belinda became DA, I was going to talk to her about.
Vivian, there's one thing I want to say. I don't think this is a symbolic move on the governor's part in appointing Devon Anderson. If you read it, it's all about politics. They want to keep the Republican Party in office. They want to keep it moving. And to do so, they couch it under, well, let's get Devon Anderson, Mike Anderson's wife there. We can couch this under as symbolic. She'll carry the flame, she'll move things going. But I don't think that's the case at all. I really do think this is just about politics. It's just about keeping the Republican Party there, keeping that regime going, and whatever existed or would have existed with Mike Anderson, we know now will stay with Devon Anderson.
Okay, what do you think about that, Justin?
Well, I was going to ask Damon, actually, do you think that part of the reason why is because of any future political aspirations that she may have? When you say maintaining the Republican agenda and the Republican, House.
I think it's personally, you can't seek the highest office in the criminal justice system in Harris County without it being in some ways political.
Okay.
I don't see that existing. If it wasn't, then it would have gone to maybe a Belinda Hill or maybe even a Democrat. I think Devon, and God bless her if she wants to go further in office, she can. But I think this was about politics.
Okay.
Pure and simple.
Rick Perry made that decision, right?
Yeah, the governor has to do that. So, Equator Turner, let's bring you in. What are your thoughts on this topic? You didn't know Devon when she was a prosecutor, did you?
Yes, I knew her when she was a prosecutor.
Did you ever have cases against her?
No, I didn't. I knew
you were a baby lawyer then, though, right?
Baby lawyer. And I was a baby lawyer also when she was on the bench.
Okay.
What was she, in the 177th?
177.
Yes, and I remember her.
Defeated when Obama won the first time.
Yes, she was. I really, truly think, I actually spoke with someone who is a dead heart Republican. I called him up and I texted him up and I'm like, hey, why didn't Belinda get this job? I'm ready to protest in front of the courthouse on Tuesday. I was going to have a couple of my friends out there from MBUF, a couple, other people. And I'm like, they didn't pass that on to Belinda. Belinda was first assistant. She was well qualified. However, I really honestly think Belinda just didn't want the job. But as far as the governor appointing Devon Anderson, like Damon said, I really think it was a political choice. And it was not necessarily a choice as to who would do the best for the people. It was a political choice of who would be the best for the Republican Party.
I agree with you on that. I don't think that the governor ever thinks about who would be
the best for the Republican Party.
It's always who would be the best for the Republican Party, but that is politics. And somehow we have to blend and marry politics with the people who actually represent us and the people that we elect. And somehow we want to educate people on the best way to do that. Well, does anyone else have any comments about this?
I just have one other thing.
Sorry.
The thing of it is that the district attorney's office or the district attorney of Harris County is supposed to be about the people. It's not supposed to be about who is best for the Republican Party. They take an oath for the people. The district attorney's office is supposed to prosecute for victims, to prosecute for the people of Harris County. And if the person who's elected there or who they put in there is about politics, then are we really doing a disjustice to everybody out there, the every average day Jane and Joe? How are we protecting them?
I agree. And when you take an oath to be an assistant district attorney, you raise your hand, and I know some of us have done it, and you swear that you'll seek justice.
Yes.
And I don't doubt that Devon Anderson will do that. In fact, I think she will. However, the fact that someone who was voted off the bench by the people circles back around and gets appointed, I think that's hard for everyday people to understand. We get it because we all live in the courthouse. But for the voters out there, what this says to you is go vote in November and understand that if you're a Democrat and you have a governor in Austin that's a Democrat, then like you said, Damon, a Democrat gets appointed.
Right.
And when you think those races may not impact you, or, you know what, I'm just one citizen in Houston, what am I going to be able to do to impact the entire state? Well, what you do is you go and you vote.
Right.
And this is the trickle down, and Damon made an excellent point. This is the trickle down of politics and criminal justice. And we all need to be more aware when we decide, whatever party you're in, whomever you support, who we put in those places.
Exactly.
I agree. And one of the things I'll promise to my viewers is that I will keep you informed. So we will be watching Devon. We pray that she does an excellent job. She's very smart. She's been a prosecutor, judge, and defense lawyer, so she definitely has the tools to be an excellent leader. And I just pray that she creates sensible policies so that things are fair. Because I think right now we just have too many cases at a bullcorn. And although all of us make our living on these bullcorn cases, and I want us all to just keep doing that, when you just see all these crack rock cases and these little bitty cases, and they're just filling up this system, it's just crazy, because you just know that, you know, what's a rock in a car that you have to scrape up off of a carpet in a car? I mean, it's just so stupid. And one of the policies, and I liked Mike Anderson a lot, but I hated the fact that he went back to taking those under a gram cases, those residue cases again, those trace cases.
And that was, again, a political move.
Yeah, that's how he beat out Lycos in the primary. So is Devon going to have to still do the same thing because she's keeping his legacy?
Well, she's following in his vision, right? So it sounds like that's what's going to happen.
I will say this, having appeared before and having seen her in action as a defense attorney, she's definitely a woman who has her own thoughts. And while she may be there to carry on the legacy, I wouldn't expect her to be a puppet. There may be some surprises that happen over the next, I guess, year. I guess they've run for re-election in 2014. I think it'll be interesting to see how she fills that role and to see if she is, quote unquote, beholden to those people who said, hey, if you want this group of people to support you, you're going to have to start taking these crack pipe cases. I think it's going to be very
interesting. And I think that she has the youth, the maturity, and everything to get it without nonsensical policies. Because to me, the residue cases are nonsensical. It makes no sense. It's trash, okay? It's just trash. It's like an extra Coke in a can you throw away. It's just trash. And so I think that she's smart enough to still sell to her party that she's tough on crime without arresting basically homeless people that really have no evidence, that have no power, no stroke, that we can just put our foot on their necks. I mean, because it's just not a fair system when we have the dope house somewhere that probably has 10 kilos and all we're doing is getting some bullcorn that's being, crack pipe that's being thrown around. But we're not really trying to do real policing and making these officers go out and do things that need to be done.
And I just want to say, I don't think there's much for her, Devon Anderson, to carry on because Mike didn't really do much. Unfortunately, due to his circumstance, he was in and out real fast. And so while he was there, all we really saw was the end of the divert program, as that way it was created by Lycos, and now the trace cases are back. But we really didn't see much.
That's a big deal. Those trace cases are big, though.
But we didn't see much policy else as far as what else he may have had in mind. And so another reason why I say it's political is that there's not much for her to carry on other than no more divert, and now we have trace. So we have two policies that she might keep moving forward, and then the rest of it will be her own show.
You know, I see what you're saying there. I disagree to one extent that I think that it creates more of a problem when you have that vacuum of leadership that Mike left, and when he had to take some time for his health. And I know Judge Hill did everything she possibly could to fill in that, and I think she did a fantastic job. But there were several months, we spoke of the divert program, when the district attorney's office was trying to transition to something new, and none of the DAs in the individual courts, the assistant district attorneys, knew what to do.
Yeah,
and none of them wanted to take a stand. And now we have this whole new personality of leadership that they have to scurry around and worry about doing what ultimately is the right thing in most cases, because they don't know how their new boss is going to react.
They don't want to get fired, so now we're going to have a standstill. And when we deal with the citizens, the people we represent, and we go to court, you're going to be expecting something to happen. Nothing's going to be happening because they're going to be dealing with policy changes. And so it's going to be reset, and God knows, a lot of times I hear regular citizens blame lawyers for resets. We want to get our money and get out. And I tell my clients a lot of times, do you want to work for the same money for a year? No. We're doing this because we have to. We're not doing it because we want to. We're trying to look out for your best interest, and sometimes the decision makers just aren't there. Right. But it's hard to explain that to citizens because they have to take off work to be there no matter what, which is something I campaigned against last time. I wanted a scheduling order similar to federal court, and I think they're trying to do something like that now because it's just too many people coming to court for nothing.
That's true.
Just come to court when there's pretrial conference and trial, or if they're going to plead, and we can set that. But just to keep coming every 2 or 3 weeks is stupid. It's just a waste of time and resources. And county resources. Well, we've talked about Devon, and if we want to add anything else, we can. Let's switch topics now. Let's have Justin Harris tell us about, update us about Chief McClellan. Tell us what happened with him hitting this pedestrian.
Well, thanks, Ms. King. Back on September 4th, Chief McClellan from the Houston Police Department was on his way to work. He was turning, I believe he was making a left-hand turn from Clay onto Travis, an intersection that I'm sure a lot of us here at this table drive through frequently. And in his words, he was, I had a green light and the pedestrian had a green light to walk across the street. And he said for whatever reason, he didn't see him. He pulled through the intersection and the man flew about 6 to 10 feet. Witnesses said that he fell down, did not get up, could not get up, was in great pain. The man's name was actually James Harris, and no relation.
Wow.
And he's a broken arm. He's an attorney in Houston and has been out of work for a little while.
Wow.
So, you know, he was, as you said earlier, Mayor Parker is Chief McClellan's boss. Ultimately, he works at her pleasure, and she suspended him. She decided that an appropriate punishment for him was a 1-day suspension. So, and I cannot find, and somebody else may know whether that was paid or unpaid, but he got a vacation day, which I haven't had in a while.
I don't know if it was or not. And one of the comments that I told Justin off air was I was a hearing examiner for the city of Houston, and that's when they're complaining about punishment. It's when their bosses sanction them. They go through one grievance process, they lose, the boss sanctions them again, they go through another grievance process, and now they go to an arbitrator like I was, which is a hearing examiner between the police lawyers and the person who's been aggrieved, that's a police officer. And one of the things that they would do a lot, and I discovered, was that the city is self-insured. So I used to always wonder when I'm in my lawyer capacity, criminal lawyer capacity, why when an officer hits somebody, they always blame the other person. And I found out when I was a hearing examiner is because they actually get written up if they have an accident and they cause the accident. And to me, that was, teaching officers to lie. I think that seemed like the fundamentals of teaching them to start lying on people. And we want honest police officers. So now, to me, we have a city policy that leans toward liars. Because if the city's going to punish you for saying I made a mistake or I had an accident, which, you know, I mean,
you're not going to do it.
You're not going to do it. You're going to blame the other person because you don't want to get written up. This is your livelihood. And statistics always show that a person who's in a car all the time for a living are going to have more accidents than the average person because they spend more hours in a car. So officers are going to have accidents. And I just think that if they're good police officers and they have an accident and the city's self-insured, then it should just be like anything else in life. We don't get written up on our jobs because we have an accident. It doesn't affect our livelihood because it's encouraging lies. And I always hated that. And so they get sanctioned. So that's why the mayor had to sanction him.
Well, and what you said is a good point as far as, you know, the initial statement, because initially, and I don't have it in front of me, but initially Chief McClellan said something along the lines of, I was at a stop, the light turned green, I checked the intersection, it was clear, I made my turn, and this man just appeared in front of him. But a few days ago, surveillance cameras from that intersection came out and showed that's not right. This man he was well into the intersection when Chief McClellan went forward, and he struck him pretty well. And my take on this is not so much what happened to him, but what didn't happen to him, and what happens to our clients so often. He gets to get off with a 1-day suspension and getting to say, for whatever reason, I didn't see him. But however many of us have gone to prosecutors and tried to explain that, and we've just been met with complete skepticism, or that we're lying, or that our clients are lying. They just don't believe us, period. But you know, it doesn't matter whether our client's an upstanding citizen like Chief McClellan or not so much.
Right.
He gets the benefit of the doubt, and our
That's
clients
a
don't
great point. ABC 13 reported that it was unpaid for whatever that's worth. But something that we talked about
he also
often.
agreed to take defensive driving.
Yeah, he's taking defensive driving.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you think they searched his car?
No.
Ha! Oh, Billy, wow, that's the best comment. Do you think?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you think somebody stopped and searched his car?
No.
Did he stop and render aid? I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
But did they search his car? Did they tell him his car smelled like marijuana?
No.
He's
Did
a
he do
black
field
male.
sobriety
Did they?
tests?
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
Vivian, I had a question for you. Since you had that experience, is it policy for officers in an accident to have to get tested for drugs, alcohol?
I believe that
policy
it
for
is.
that?
Yeah, I think they are. But that's interesting you said that because I don't ever remember that coming up in the debate. Usually the debate is that the person doesn't want that disciplinary action in their record. So that's usually the issue. They never complained about, taking a drug test.
Okay.
So I don't remember if that's their policy because I wasn't dealing with policy. It's like an appeal. They are appealing to me saying, I want this removed because I told the truth, and they're saying, no, this is our policy. Right. And what I would usually do, because I liked it when officers told the truth, I would usually just say, leave it in this personnel file for a year, and if no other infraction like that comes up, remove it. Because that hurts them from being promoted.
Right.
And I'll tell you, the video that I saw online was much more egregious than what I had read.
Yeah.
When you take a look at that video, this guy is in almost the center of the crosswalk, and he gets popped. If the police chief had come to a complete stop, he accelerated really quickly.
He did.
Prior to hitting.
Well, you see him when the video starts. He is at a dead stop, so he really goes. And we talked about it. I think you said it, Ms. King, beforehand. He was probably on his cell phone.
Yeah, he was probably on his cell phone, like so many people are downtown on their way to work on our cell phones. Wasn't paying attention, and caused an accident. And the thing is, though, when other people, like you said, private citizens have accidents, then they either get arrested. If they're a black male, they're going to be told to get out of their car. They're going to search their phones. Or they're going to ask, can I search your car? I bet they didn't do that to Chief McClellan.
No.
I see we have a call. Caller, you're on.
They're not going to do all that. The thing about it, this guy was way in the middle of the intersection when this guy hit him. And he was definitely on his phone. You can believe that. And another thing about it, we're not going to hear about the city. Our taxpayers' money going to pay all his medical bills, and plus probably get $200,000 or $300,000 to cover. And we'll never hear about that.
Oh yeah, because there's a settlement because we're self-insured. The city of Houston has no insurance, so it's going to come out of our tax dollars.
If they wouldn't have that camera, we would never know the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
That's absolutely true.
And he was on his phone. I goes right there all the time. I go over to the law office to get the tax sheets, and they run that light all the time. I guarantee he was on their phone, but I guarantee we would never hear about the settlement because we're gonna have to pay for that.
Well, I can tell you this. We're trying to have a week, once a month, I'm going to have a panel discussion. So I'm going to write down, we're going to follow up and find out what happens. It'll probably be a year from now, but, because it takes a long time. They'll fight him. They're going to fight him. Like you said, the city attorney is the person that's going to be fighting against any claims.
That's a lost cause there.
Right.
He got 1 day suspension, and he lose $900 for that 1 day.
Right.
That might cover the settlement, right?
No.
That money the city saves? No.
I doubt it. Do you have any comments on the Devon Anderson appointment, the widow of Mike Anderson?
I really, it's politics. She's like you were saying about the crack pipes and stuff like that. It's nonsense. It's trash. Like a Coke can, just throw out the window. If they were getting in the community and do a little more, instead of arresting these guys for DWI, public intoxication or whatever in the community, that's trash. That's a waste of.
That's just a waste of time.
Taxpayers' money.
Just think of how much money it costs. Just think how much money it costs for a police officer to arrest someone, get off the street for the night, make a police report, take up a bed at the county, come to court, get a court-appointed lawyer because those people don't have any money, and it probably costs $50,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here's the thing. A lot of those police, when they arrest those guys like that, they ready to go in and do paperwork and be done with their shift the rest of the night.
Right.
Right.
That's just the bottom line of that. They know who those guys is. They know what they do every day. They see them every day on the corners.
Right.
They know what they do.
Exactly.
So when they get ready to end their shift or want to go and job off, hey, well, I'm gonna pick up Joe. I'm
Right.
gonna pick up Charlie.
Right.
You know, give him a crack pipe. I know he got a pipe or whatever. And then you're in the system, going to court every day or whatever. Calling out the courtroom, you know, having a high attorney that they can't pay for. They can't pay for. They got a pill,
Right.
a crack. They can't pay for you.
They can't pay for me. They sure can't pay for me. You're right about that. Thank you for calling, and please call me.